Hello and welcome back to Coffee Break Learning. I'm Sophie Andrell. In this episode, I want to talk to you about your privacy settings and your notifications. This is important because this will save your sanity on LinkedIn. So number one, we want to make sure you're found by the people you'd like to be found by. And number two, we want to make sure that your notifications are set to your tolerance level. The default notifications are overwhelming on LinkedIn. You'll get too many emails and too many notifications unless you adjust it. If you happen to be the customer service person for your organization and you're the way they get in touch with you, perhaps you want to leave your settings on to the extreme where you're getting emails and notifications for every activity. But I don't think so, because the activity includes when they update their own profile, when they like or connect with someone. So I think you want to go in, and that's what I'm going to show you how to do. So what are you going to do first is go back to linkedin.com and sign in. And once you've signed in, we're going to take you to home. That's where it's going to take you on LinkedIn. It's going to show you everyone that you're, all the updates of the people that you're following in the middle. We have a LinkedIn session on just the elements of LinkedIn. You'll want to go through that so you understand what's going on here. Your profile location shows up here. You can click on that to see your beautiful profile. This is the profile we created for Lee the other day. So now let's go adjust her settings. Let's make her public to the world. Right now we've had her settings set that the public cannot find her because we were just creating her profile. What do I mean by that? So if someone was to put in the unique URL we created for Lee, this is what happens. This is a unique URL. If you saw that LinkedIn episode, you saw that we put her first name and last name as her unique URL on LinkedIn. You can find your unique URL in the how to create your profile video tutorial. But if you put that in, even though we've created it, it says it's not found from the public. Oh my, so why is that? That's because we set her settings to be not found by the public. So let's go in and change that now. And we're also going to change her notification thresholds. Okay, so let's go take a peek. So if I go here, which is where LinkedIn will take you when you first log in, to find your settings, you're going to click on the Me and you're going to click on Settings and Privacy. Let me close some of these other ones. So now we're going to go scroll down and show you some of the things I want you to do. We're not going to focus on the account column here. This is something you can come back to, and we will come back to this when we're talking about how to post, because I'd like you to connect your Twitter account to LinkedIn if you have one. If not, obviously you don't have to do that. But I want to focus on privacy in this session. So who can find your profile, who can see your connections, it's pretty important, it's very important, and communication, which is adjusting your notification level, adjusting the sound, the noise from LinkedIn, and make it into a powerful business tool. What is it that you want to know about on LinkedIn? Do you want to know every time a group that you've joined puts out a post because you want to be seen as proactive in that group, yet there's another group that you've joined where you maybe don't need to be as proactive in that group? You've set it in your networking communications plan that you'll go into that group maybe on a monthly basis. I talk about that all the time, that you need to schedule your networking, and LinkedIn is a networking platform. So if you want to network once a week, that's when you can come into LinkedIn and look around, comment. But there are some places that are going to post more frequently on LinkedIn, and you'd like to communicate immediately to those, to show how on top of things you are, to show how in the know you are. So those you may want an email from so that you can show that you are proactive. But the others, you may want to just go in on a monthly or weekly basis, depending on your networking schedule, to communicate. So let's start with privacy. So on privacy, edit your public profile. Choose how your profile appears to non-logged in members via search engines or permitted services. There we go. So this is where, when you're first creating it, you might have changed this so that no one can see it. And this is where you come down here after you click on that, and you're going to say customize your public profile right here. You need to change that to make my profile public and visible to everyone. Woohoo! Then you can also go in and decide what people see, what part of people, what do you want them to see. I'm going to make this public because it's beautiful, and she's ready. And so I did two things here. One, I made it public for everyone to see, and I made it visible to not just LinkedIn members but also public, because I'd like, if she's searched for on Google or other search engines, I want them to find her LinkedIn profile. So that's what's going to happen now. And so what is going to be seen, you can decide what you want them to see as well. Which parts of your LinkedIn profile do you want them to see? Do you want them to see your headline, which is, we talked quite a bit about what the headline is, something that makes you unique and stand out, your summary, your experience, and then you can decide, I want them to see my experience and my details, but maybe not my past details. So that will take out the paragraphs that you have with the past details. I want them to see my education, and maybe I'm going to keep the details for my education there, because I remember we wrote some extra information on there that I think was valuable, and we definitely want them to see skills because we were pretty proud of our skills. So that's what people will see in the public. Save. So now she's public. Woohoo! You go, girl. So I'm very excited about that. So let's go back to, so that's number one. You want to go in and first make sure that you've adjusted your settings to who you want to find you in the public. So now we also need to go back to settings and privacy. Back to privacy, which is where we were. Hi, puppy. Who's come to visit us? It's Duke. It's my old man. So we've gotten the edit your public profile. That's important. Manage activity status. Who can see when you're on LinkedIn? Who can see when you're on LinkedIn? So do you want people to see, show my connections when I'm active? I'm going to say no. So I don't think she wants that. So this is something that you personally need to decide. Again, if you're someone like myself who maybe I want to say, hey, and actually this is a good idea, I'm going to change this on my own, because I do like having public question and answer period. So this is where I would say, yeah, I'd like this to say when I'm on public on LinkedIn, so I can communicate through my Messenger or other communications vehicles. So that's a great idea, meaning through Messenger, or if I have a comment that I have out there, we can have some dialogue back and forth. So that's a great idea. Who can see your connections? This is important. Let me just show you what I mean. So if you have a number of people that you're LinkedIn, that you're connected to, you have the choice of not sharing your connections with others, or your connections can see who you're connected to. So the default is that your connections, once I'm connected to Lee, I can see everyone she's connected to. Or the change you could do is, if you made it only you, then what happens is, now that I'm connected to Lee, I can only see those connections we have in common. I can only see those connections we have in common. So this is what you want to decide. So I think in her case, she is comfortable because she wants to network online. She's letting me use her profile as my vehicle to do my demos on. So I think she's good with having anyone who's connected to her seeing her connections. So that's awesome. So that's exciting. So you decide on that one. If you're working for yourself and you're your own consultant and your client list is pretty much who you're connected to, you may want to have this as only you. So you need to decide. That one's important. Viewers of this profile also viewed. Choose whether or not this feature appears. So I don't mind this, and that's the default is yes. So anyone who comes to see your profile, what'll come up on your profile are other people that they've actually also viewed. So you want to decide if you want that. Sharing profile edits. Choose whether your network is notified about you changing your profile. So what happens here is, I suggest after you've completed your profile, leave this as a yes. Remember it's a yes, because now anytime you add something to your profile, it becomes a post. It acts as a post. It tells people, hey, this person now works here. So it acts as a post. Or this person now volunteers here. So it acts as a post. So you want to decide, remember which way you've done this, and decide and know that it's strategic and people are going to see it. View profile viewing options, whether or not you're visible or viewing in private mode. So that means when you're looking at other people's profiles, do they know it was you or not? So the default is yes, but you can change that. Let me show you. Now, a lot of human resource people I work with will make this into a private mode. They don't want people to know that they were looking at their profile, so they'll change this private. Others will indicate, well, why not let them know that I've looked, but I don't want them to know it's me. But if you're here to network, then the default is your name and your headline is what gets seen. And this is what I think makes more sense if you're networking. Make sure that this is set to be full profile and that people see that you're actually looking at their profile. And remember that that's what's going on, because they'll see when you've come to look at their profile. They'll see if they have the free version of LinkedIn, they'll see the last handful of people that looked at their profile. If they upgrade, they'll see a number of more. It'll hold history for them as to who's looked at their profile. So that's pretty cool. And let's see, notify connections when you're in the news. That's very cool. So choose whether we notify people in your network when you've been mentioned in an article or a blog. Absolutely, unless you're somebody who has a lot of negative press, whose name will remain nameless. Who can see your last name? Choose how you want your name to appear. So your name should appear full for your branding and your own personal transparency. So those are things you can decide to do. Now you can also block people. Say you have competitors online. You can actually make up a list and block them so that they do not see you, and you can come back here and change that at any time. So that might be something you want to do. So I think that's, oh, this is important. Data privacy and advertising. Manage who can discover your profile from your email. Manage who can discover your profile from your phone number. So those two are things that you want to decide. If someone knows my email, do I want them to be able to find me? If someone knows my phone number, can they find me? And the options are that it could be anybody, it could be people that are in your network, or no one. I just don't want them to find me unless, depends how private you want it. So it depends on what you're doing on LinkedIn. Represent your organization. Choose if we can show your profile information on your employer's page. So if you have a company, if you are part of a company who has a company page and their logo shows up on your profile, I showed you how to do that yesterday in the last LinkedIn video tutorial session, where you started typing out the company's name that you work for or worked for in the past. Their logo shows up. That means that if you have yes here, that means that your name will show up as an employee on the company page on LinkedIn. So it helps with your networking. So I believe you would want yes on that. Again, the only groups I know that would have no to that are people that don't want people contacting them. Sometimes it's buyers for organizations, and often it's the human resource for organizations. But I think that's all evolving with transparency. Choose how your profile is visible on LinkedIn. Default is good there. Advertising preferences. Two-step verification. If you want to if you're worried about people accessing your LinkedIn profile, you may want to have a two-step security system in place for logging in. So that's your privacy. So hopefully that wasn't too overwhelming, but it's personal, it's different for everyone. Now go to communication. This one, you want to take your time and go through it. And it's very important to not adhere to anything. It's very important to save your sanity, because I want your experience on LinkedIn to be one that emulates virtual networking. So you let yourself determine how often you're on it, and don't let it disrupt your business flow if it's not something you want to be disrupted by. This is important. Email frequency. Choose what type of emails you wish to receive. If you're going to do just one communications adjustment, I suggest it's your email frequency. You don't want to start getting all sorts of crazy emails from LinkedIn and be turned off by LinkedIn. So this is the one that you really need to go into. Who can send you invitations, manage messages, that's InMails from people that are part of LinkedIn. You may want to do that as well. So, but this first one I think is important. And then down here, I think this is just as important, is your group notifications. You may end up turning off all of your emails, saying I don't want any emails from LinkedIn because I've got it in my schedule that I'm going to come to my LinkedIn profile on a weekly basis to do my networking. But there might be some groups that you've joined that you'd like notification in an email from them when they post on LinkedIn, because you'd like to be responding in a timely fashion to those groups because you've chosen those groups for a reason. But you don't want to have to be in disrupt mode for other things on LinkedIn. So let's look at this one here. So this one to me is the most important, email frequency. So let's click on that. And so this is where the magic happens. How many emails do you want sent to yourself? So the default is when you go to this, you're going to see that they're all on. It's going to send you an email every time there's an invitation, every time that you get any type of message or InMail or introduction or notification, or someone updates their frickin' information on their own profile. You're going to get an email about that. Job opportunities, news, group updates, messages from LinkedIn. Oh my goodness. So the default is that they were all on. Okay. So what you can do is you can turn them all off. Or you can decide, well, you know what? I wouldn't mind just seeing my invitations on a weekly basis. You can do that. You can go in and change your details to weekly digest. So it's going to give you a weekly digest on people that are sending you invitations, messages from other LinkedIn members. This is the only one I have on in mine. I have everything off in mine except for messages from other LinkedIn members. I want to see a message when someone sends me a message on LinkedIn. But you can, in this case as well, where did it go? Messages from connections. You can as well here indicate that I only want them sent to me on a weekly basis if you wanted to, or I want them sent on individual basis. So you need to decide. So messages from connections, InMails and introductions, which way do you want them sent to you? So I'm going to say messages from connections I'd like as a individual email. That makes sense. InMails and introductions, I'm probably going to do them as weekly because I don't really know these people. These are introductions. So again, it's up to you. Or you turn them both off. Why would you do that? Because you've scheduled your networking time in your calendar and you do not want to be interrupted throughout the day, and you want to instead be systematic and go to LinkedIn on a weekly basis and look at all of your connections, look at the recommendations, and look at the notifications. So it's up to you which way you're going to choose to do this. So I don't mean to be confusing. We could have just stayed at decide if you want invitations sent to you as an email, yes or no. Decide if you want messages sent to you, yes or no. Decide if you want notifications sent to you, yes or no. Job opportunities, up to you. If you're in the job market, you may want that on. So that's up to you. LinkedIn will see what it thinks your skills are and what the opportunities are there. There are companies out there who have upgraded and they're looking for people. So if you are looking for jobs, you want this one on. Okay, news and articles relevant to you. I love the news and articles in LinkedIn. Absolutely love them. They're powerful. The content is solid. I have chosen who to follow for my news and articles. So in some of these, I have them on yes, and that's a whole LinkedIn tutorial that we're going to go through on how to manage and how to choose your LinkedIn's and your articles. And so group updates. Group updates, once you've joined groups, I suggest you've joined them for strategic reasons. So you can make it that a group never sends you an email, or that a group sends you an email automatically through LinkedIn every time someone posts, or you get a daily digest or a weekly digest. Most of my groups, I have them as weekly digests. I want to see what's gone on, daily digests. I don't want to be interrupted when I'm in meetings, but once a day I want to know that what's the activity been in a certain group, and I go in and comment if it's something that I can add value to in the group, or I'll want to know sometimes individual emails for every activity in some groups because they're strategic groups for me. I want to be part of that group. I want to add value. I want to show my support. So you get to decide which groups you want emails from and which ones you don't. So that's pretty powerful. And then these two, for me, of course, I have them on because I want tips from LinkedIn. I want to know the learning aspect of LinkedIn because that's what I do for a living. But it's important that you go in and manage your sanity. Number one problem I hear from people is that they don't want LinkedIn sending them emails, and they get frustrated, and so instead they are just not active on LinkedIn, and now they're getting emails that don't make any sense to them. You can drive which emails you get, and you can drive the frequency of the emails, and it really makes your virtual networking a good way to be. So who can send you invitations? This is another thing that you want to look at. You can make everyone can send you invitations, which is what I suggest, or only people who know you through your email. You can import a contact list and have those people on your yes list so they automatically get approved. So though that's something we're going to talk to you about on how to grow your contacts, and people who appear, or only people who appear in your contact list. So you imported contact list. So you have those three. And I recommend if you're on here for networking, you have it that everyone can actually send you an invitation. So groups are strategic. We're going to have a coffee break learning session on just how to grow, and groups will be part of that. Which groups you join, how you network in a group, how you network outside of a group. And groups can be strategic because your groups, their logo will show up on your public profile. So if you're an accountant, you want to join the appropriate accounting associations, groups that are online on LinkedIn, because they will show up on your LinkedIn profile. And then what you need to decide is to choose whether or not your network gets notified when you join a group. And I suggest, because joining a group is strategic, you keep that on yes. And you need to remember that the groups you're joining are strategic. They're part of your resume on steroids, which LinkedIn is. So use that to your advantage on the groups when you join a group. And then when you join a group, what I love about it on LinkedIn is you can indicate how often you want notifications from each individual group. You can make it a blanket statement that you want notifications from all the groups on a weekly digest basis, or you don't want any notifications as an email from a group, or you want all notifications as an email from a group, or you can go individually, which is what I've done. So for this group, I want an email every time the group posts, because I'd like to be able to go in and add some information to their post if it's something I can add value to, or when this group, another group posts, I'd like a weekly digest because I want to be kept in the loop and I don't want to forget to check out what's going on in that group. Then there's other groups that they're part of my routine, that on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis, depending on where they are on my hierarchy of importance, I will go in and see what's going on in that group. You can join up to 50 groups. So only 50 groups, you can't join more, but you can join up to 50 groups. So you need to decide, how am I adding value to these groups? How are they adding value to me? How do I want to network in these groups? It's called virtual networking for a reason. You need to decide, how are you going to be a part of that virtual group? They can be very effective if you're using groups properly. But here we're talking about notifications under communications, and how you're going to not be overwhelmed, not be underwhelmed, but use it to your advantage. Get the notifications you want and emails you want. We didn't talk about this one, notifications on LinkedIn. What this one is when you're on LinkedIn, right here is your notifications. So do you want a notification there every time there is activity in your network? So again, with this one, I don't see anything wrong with that because I'm able to quickly scan through it. Others would prefer not to have those notifications there. So up to you to go here and decide, do I want notifications on invites and messages, job opportunities, news articles, updates about you, updates about your network, updates from my groups, in my notifications area. So if I was to look at, let's say, updates about your network, and they're all on. So you're going to get notifications for everyone's birthday, for everyone's conversation, for everyone's feedback, everyone's job changes in your network. Everything that happens is going to automatically be part of your notifications. So you may want to go in and turn all those off if you like. Again, it depends on your threshold and what you like to look at. Maybe you'd like to see who your new followers are. So take a look at this and decide. Maybe you would like to see, when you're first starting out, some new videos shared by influencers, because you're here to network and learn. It's like going to a conference. At a conference, you're going to meet other people and you're going to sessions to learn. So I love the articles on LinkedIn. I love the videos on LinkedIn. So I would keep those two on and turn the rest off, for goodness sake, but it's up to you. Happy LinkedIn-ing.